Fury, the man on pole position in the Nissan Skyline, 52.46, his qualifying time, ahead of Jim Richards in the BMW M3 in 52.54. Andrew Madiki is in third position on the grid in the Ford Sierra, sponsored by Oxo, 52.68. Then Ludwig Finauer in the second of the BMW M3s in 52.70. Trevor Ashby, the big winner at last meeting out here at Amaroo in the Commodore, 52.94. Then Brad Jones in the Starion, followed by Terry Finnegan. Improved performance today in his Commodore, qualified in 54.04. Don Smith won't be starting in the second of the Oxo Ford Sierras. Brian Callahan will be there in the Commodore, qualified in 54.56. Then John Smith in Toyota Corolla. Drew Price, his teammate in the Toyota Corolla, and bringing up the top 12, David Ratcliffe in the Levin, 56.72. And rounding out the field, John Faulkner, Bob Holden, although I don't think Bob Holden will start, then John Sachs, and of course Tony Longhurst not running today.
Bonnet up on the Oxo Sierra as the crew and John Craft just checking to make absolutely sure that all is well. The car that's had substantial work on it between the first and the third heat.
I wonder how smart Freddie Gibson and the Peter Jackson Nissan team have been coming to Amaroo today. They're not participating, obviously, in the AMSCAR series, just to get one up on the opposition. Put a little demoralising act over JPS BMW team chief Frank Gardner, and know that when they return here on June 21st, the 8th round of the Australian Touring Car Championship under the Shell banner, they'll be very competitive, and certainly giving a couple of the other teams and the Holden Commodores quite a big run round here. Good to see Brad Jones back in the Gilux Auto Colour Starion. Dropped out of heat number 2, but he's back for the fray this afternoon in the 15-lap final. About 30 seconds away from the start.
George Fury looking for the trifecta, having taken heats 1 and 2. In fact, the results identical. Richards finished second on both occasions, and Ludwig Finauer third in those earlier heats. And series leader Trevor Ashby with a 4th and a 5th placing, really looking to finish a little higher in this one to bolster his points total for the day.
About 10 seconds away from the start. Round 3 of the Wilson Fabrics AMSCAR series. Racing, getting away smartly. George Fury, another blinder off the start. Jimmy Richards goes with him, and Andrew Madeki makes it up quickly indeed. Ludwig Finauer is there, and so too is Trevor Ashby. We take race cam as we follow Andrew Madeki over the top of Skyline and drop down into Dunlop Loop for the first time. A little bump there between Richards and Andrew Madeki. Madeki now back into third. Ashby gets the freight train down on the inside, and Ludwig Finauer is forced out wide as Terry Finnegan closes up on him. But the friendly farmer going into them on the back shed.
Ludwig Finauer lost out very badly there. He's been shuffled back to about 7th spot on the track, caught very wide.
They come down to Honda corner for the first time. Richards reasonably close to George Fury. Madeki not that far back behind them. Ashby is on the same pace as they go down to the lake corner for the first time.
That was surprising from Ludwig Finauer in the JPS BMW. He's dropped right back, right to the rear of the field. There's his teammate Jim Richards up into second place. Whether he had some problems getting a gear, getting to the top of the hill, we'll find out later. Madeki, Ashby, Finnegan, Callahan, the order. And pursuing George Fury. Gee, he's been on the money all weekend. They've done plenty of testing. This is the race cam aboard Trevor Ashby's Holden Commodore. Those V8 still sound good, don't they?
Oh, speak to me.
Well, there's a swag of them in here. Trevor Ashby is leading up a trio of Commodores. Terry Finnegan in behind him, and then Brian Callahan. But up front it's Fury in the Nissan, followed by the BMW of Jimmy Richards, and then the Oxo Ford Sierra with Andrew Madeki at the wheel.
Ashby continues to lead the series after 1 round and today's 2 heats, 42 points.
Andrew Madeki in the Oxo Super Cube Sierra Turbo.
Back in the pack, I noticed Brad Jones has had the short back and sides from Brian Callahan. And a lot of smoke coming from Terry Finnegan's car too, so he may not see out the race, I think, in his Commodore.
George is not getting away from Jim quite as well this time, and this is the longer race. It'll be interesting to see just how tyres go in this event. They haven't really come to the fore in the 5-lapper and the 8-lapper.
Of course, in the Shell Ultra High Touring Car Championship Series, we've seen the clash between Peter Jackson Nissan team and, of course, JPS BMW team all season. Seaton and Richards swapping the point score lead, and I would think after today's form, George Fury is about ready to jump up there and stake his claim with 3 rounds or 4 rounds remaining.
These two marks are battling out the Manufacturers' Championship in Australia, Nissan and BMW. And George, as you say, quite rightly, looking to bounce back. He's had some bad luck in the last couple of rounds of the Touring Car Championship. In-car barbecue for him at Lakeside, and then breaking an axle at Wanneroo, getting up and scraping home for a second in Adelaide, and fourth in the championship, 1 point down on Larry Perkins. I think Jim's just dropped off a little on the back of George, although what he's now finding is plenty of pressure from Andrew Madiki. There's the battle.
Yes, and Madiki actually has left Trevor Ashby well and truly behind him. That's where the scrap is certainly coming from. Madiki and Jim Richards.
The news of the postponement of Surfers Paradise for a week will be welcome news for Nissan's. Oh, look at this. Madiki really charging up here. And over the top, side by side.
It's been a while since we've seen someone come from behind.
Yeah.
With Jim at Amaroo Park.
I tell you what, it's also a brave boy who goes around somebody on the outside at the top of the hill, because you run out of road very quickly if you get it wrong.
Well, Andrew got it right.
Like the news of that week's postponement, I was saying it'll be welcome news for Nissan's engine builder, Bo Seaton. They've locked him up in the workshop in Melbourne this weekend. They wouldn't bring him to Amaroo because they've told him, they've given him his orders to wring a few more horsepower out of the cars in preparation for Surfers. Well, he's got an extra week up his sleeve now.
Yep. Well, I expect the Nissans to be very competitive there a fortnight from today, and also, of course, to a round that we're looking forward to, Sandown International Raceway in Victoria on June the 7th. That should be a bottle or two. In fact, the closing rounds of the Shell Ultra Australian Touring Car Championship should all be great. Amaroo Park layout is in fact the equaliser. By the time Gracie gets back from the States, Brocky gets on the pace, and Perkins joins the fast company here. It should be quite a shootout.
Got 6 laps gone in this race. George Fury continues to lead from Andrew Madiki, and Jim Richards has now been relegated to third place. He won't like that. He won't stay there for long, you can bet your life. Winner of the Touring Car Championship in '85, 3-time winner with Peter Brock of the James Hardy 1000, one of the most experienced drivers in the country.
Andrew Madeki and Jim Richards. Madeki, of course, pulling off that great move going up Bitchapave on Jim 2 laps ago. But he'll find that Richards will keep pegging away. Richards won't throw this one away. He'll keep the pressure well and truly on. He'll be running just as quickly at the finish.
That extra horsepower you were talking about, Gary, the Nissan team is seeking this weekend might come in handy later in the year when BMW gets its new manifold, about 15 horsepower's worth, and we hear that Jim Richards will have the new manifold on his M3 at Surfers.
I think they're all going to need a little bit extra if the Ford Sierras, Dick Johnson's for one, and the Oxo team keep developing the way they are.
The Oxo team, well, Andrew Madeki's car this weekend, 360 horsepower. They've got a new chip in the car to cope with Australian tracks and with weather conditions down here. 360 horsepower. The trouble they have, obviously, is getting it down to the road. The drivetrain isn't standing up to it so far. And then again, you've only got very narrow rubber to get the power down onto the track.
Peter wasn't referring to fish and chop, more like a microchip. Coming up on Terry Finnegan to put a lap on him. Terry was belching smoke and everything else about 3 laps ago, got off the pace a little bit. So George moves in on Mrs. Finnegan's little Terry. Obviously running unsponsored again, loves his racing and restricts his activities basically to Amaroo Park and Oran Park in Sydney.
This whole touring car scene is constantly changing. Come September, Ford hopes to have homologated a new Sierra, a new generation Sierra, that'll have a bigger turbo, twin injectors, and a bigger grille to allow the air to flow through to service that turbo. And I don't know what the horsepower figure would be, but if they got 360 now, you can probably look at about 400.
That's amazing, isn't it, out of what really is a small car.
Absolutely, pony car. I guess we can only suspect the sort of lap speeds they'll be turning for Australia's traditional great race, the James Hardy 1000 World Championship round at Mount Panorama Bathurst on Sunday, October 4. I know Dick Johnson is hopeful of setting an all-time new track record there. Commodore boys are confident, and so too are the Nissan boys. It's all shaping up to be probably the best James Hardy Classic on record.
On that point, Michael, news from Europe this week that 5 M3s, 5 European M3s, heading down under for Bathurst and for Calder. Obviously all the stars will be among that 5, but also a ladies' team of Annette Masseven and Mercedes Sturmitz. Miss Sturmitz appeals to me. She is a former Miss Austria. I don't care if she can't drive.
How sweet it is.
George Fury, race leader, and he's doing it comfortably with the tail enders being reeled in. Bob Holden, John Faulkner in that car getting the slip from Fury. And down through the late corner once more. Fury's doing it very comfortably. He's still got a very handy lead over Andrew Madiki in the Oxo Sierra. And he's pulling away still from Jim Richards. 53.7 lap time there. For whom I'm not quite sure. I couldn't read the board. Terry Finnegan battling Terry, and he's got a real battle on his hands today.
There's Andrew Madeki going through, Jimmy Richards, Terry Finnegan, and all the time Fury opens the gap.
Some other interesting news in from Europe is that Wayne Gardner has gone 2 seconds faster than anybody else in qualifying for this evening's third round of the World Motorcycle Championship, so that's good for the Australian. We'll have a report on that in our next 7 Sport telecast.
Something to look forward to. So Finnegan's car, despite smoking badly early, is seems to be running a little better now in the latter stages of the race. It's not going to do him any good, of course. He's a lap down on the leaders. He just got past John Sachs, and Sachs is now pulled off short of the pit entrance. So I don't know what his problem is, but he's out of the race. Trevor Ashby, of course, in the Holden Commodore, and here he is carrying 7th race Cam, the series leader coming into today's racing, and I still think clinging to a narrow lead going into the final heat in today's round, but he's going to be hard put, I think, to hold on to it as they get down to the end of racing this afternoon.
Well, that's great. I was going to say it was great to see a privateer doing so well at Amaroo, and Trevor Ashby is certainly that. Profile piece we had earlier from Pete McKay. Ashby is obviously the fastest Commodore man around here, and I would expect him to be on the pace by the time the Australian Touring Car Championship circuit stops off here on June 21st. The man who's gaining on Ashby all the time is Ludwig Finau. You recall Ludwig didn't make the best of starts and dropped out almost to the tail. But he's been coming back through the field, and he's closing, as you can see, chasing 4th place, Trevor Ashby.
He got stuck out wide on this part of the circuit the first time round, and it's a desperate place to be because the cars just streamed through on the inside and left him behind. And this is the battle for 4th and 5th placings on the racetrack. The thunder of the big V8 in Ashby's Commodore, and Finau just behind him in the BMW M3. But up front, of course, George Fury continues to lead the race at a merry pace in the Nissan, and it looks like 3 straight, barring accidents, coming up for George Fury here at Amaroo Park this afternoon. The only change in the storyline is the fact that Andrew Madiki has got the Oxo Ford Sierra up and running at its best after trouble earlier that saw him withdraw from the second heat on the program, showing something of its true potential now in this heat and in 2nd place on the racetrack, but still not in contention against Fury's Skyline. There's the Sierra, and there's Jimmy Richards in the BMW in the background. A little bit of brake lock up into the corner.
That front left's been troubling Andrew for most of this race, getting into the left-hander down there at Honda.
Coming around through Wonderlic Corner. Last lap board, ready to go out. There it is. And there goes Fury across the straight. 1 lap to go for a clean sweep of today's Wilson Fabrics AMSCAR Touring Car Series at Amaroo Park. Second spot still being held down by Jim Richards. Third spot to Richards. And of course, fourth, the continuing drama between Ashby and Ludwig Finauer.
So this could be the big comeback now for George, who definitely needs a change of fortune, and this win, and certainly these wins, plural, 3 of them at the end of today, will boost morale in the Nissan team. And to some degree, they can thank the weather for giving them some extra breathing space for getting their act together for the next round of the Shell Ultra Australian Touring Car Championship. 1 corner remains for George Fury in making a great hat-trick here at Amaroo Park this afternoon. Checkered flag at the ready, and out it comes for George Fury. Car number 30, great win. Andrew Madiki will take second. Car number 35, the Oxo Ford Sierra, great to recover from the problems he had. Jimmy Richards in third in the BMW.
3 starts, 3 wins for Tal Malmo's George Fury at Amaroo Park Raceway. Sets the scene nicely for Fury. He's on the comeback trail after the Shell Ultra Australian Touring Car Championship, and he could well be the man to beat in the closing rounds. Fury, we believe, will pick up the touring car lap record at Amaroo Park this afternoon. Very sharp driving in the 15-lap final. Let's check the placings on the Castrol Oils 8 Oil scoreboard. Farmer Fury first, Andrew Madeki is second, and Jim Richards takes third.